Welcome back to another episode of the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show, where we motivate you, we inspire you, and boy, today we're going to educate you. We got a special guest today, and I'm excited. We're going to drop some gems today, so I'm going to tell you ahead of time. I know we usually do this once we get started, but I want you to get out your pen. This is the highlighter, but get out your pen, get out your paper, because you need to take some notes today. Because we got an amazing guest all the way from Florida just for you, Daniel Gomez Inspire Show. And thank you for making us one of the top podcasts around the world. We greatly appreciate it. And I want you to take notes because Jason Doran is going to drop some massive wisdom. And I want you to go back and study the notes from our episode because he's going to bring a lot of value today. And I want to welcome to the show right now. Jason, what's going on, my man?
How are you?
Man, I was just excited about connecting with you today on this episode, and I saw your name pop up. I said, I know that guy. He's pretty famous. So
In some circles, I guess, hopefully family, home. I got a quote for you that I'll share. Um, Invisible threads are the strongest ties.
Mm. I'm telling you,
So,
ladies and gentlemen, he's already dropping massive wisdom. Look at that. Invisible thread. So, Jason, I know the amazing rock star you are. Do me a favor, introduce yourself to the Daniel Goins Inspire Show, please.
sure, I appreciate the opportunity once again. I am Jay Doran, the culture man, culture advisor, business consultant, culture architect, author, host of the Culture Matters podcast, investor, and friend of Daniel Gomez Inspires. And yeah, I'm grateful to be on the show today and to share some wisdom. Well, wisdom. I think what wisdom do I have? How about share some thoughts, feelings, emotions,
Yeah.
experiences.
Well,
Uh,
today's going to be a little bit different because me and you, we vibe good and right. So the truth is this, ladies and gentlemen, one thing that I loved about Jay when I met him is he was ready. So we were there with Bradley and Jay, and we're hanging out, and me and Brad were having an in-depth conversation, and all of a sudden it's like Brad turns back and looks at Jay and says, "Well, what do you think, Jay?" And it's like, with no warning, right? And he goes, "Well, I don't even know, Daniel, but I guess let me just give it an answer, right?" But the truth is this: is that you were ready. You were ready, and so many entrepreneurs, so many business owners they wait for the moment, right? They wait for the moment. I'm ready. Let me in, God. They're crying out to God. And then their moment comes, and guess what? They twitch, they
mm,
flick, they choke. And you didn't choke. You just kind of just said, well, let me
yeah, I
answer
think it
this.
was something to the effect of suffering presupposes meaning, or there's meaning in the suffering. It was like a Nietzschean. Friedrich Nietzsche is a philosopher that I really like. He was the quote that actually I just gave a shout out about invisible ties. I was thinking about Brad today. I had mentioned that to him. Um, Ben Franklin said, "Procrastination is the art of living in yesterday, avoiding today, and destroying tomorrow." So something that I do to avoid procrastination is to be prepared.
Mm.
So, and there's a few ways that I do that as a. So anyway, I appreciate that
Yeah.
acknowledgement. That means a lot. And I'd say it's a consequence of attempting to do the best that I can within my awareness to live out the things that we teach to businesses, corporations on company culture, like the importance of reading, to think, to writing, to develop, to listening, to hear what's unsaid, to speaking, to let go. So I spend a lot of time reading and learning as a part of my role to our client partners. And so, different concepts pop in my mind. And
So
that was
so
when
so so
Brad
here,
said, "Hey, we share something with Daniel." I was like, "Oh, we're immediately friends."
and it was a great answer, right? It was because it was sincere. Why do you think so many people are not ready for the opportunity?
Hmm. Well, one question would be, have they written down a goal? Is what's drive like, is there a written down goal?
Mm.
Because writing down a goal can turn anxiety into movement, into like impulse, into drive, into motion. Actually, it's in the psychology books, a hope and that goal have a relationship. So has our listener or listeners, have they written down a goal? Because if there's a goal, then you could come up with like an objective. And then the question becomes, are you ready to do it or not? And then, of course, do they have somebody like you in their corner holding them accountable, even if it's just they know you're in their head. So,
Yeah.
or are they teaching someone like the mentor mentee dynamic? Are they a mentee to someone and a mentor to someone else? So I would say first, why there's a variety of reasons, but
Look, this
one would be the absence of the goal. So what do you have there?
a goal,
Oh, I love it.
right? I'm an index card guy. I don't always read these, but I have them everywhere. But like for this one, right? This is says, with an abundant mindset and as an increased thinker, I have created my beautiful brand new red Lamborghini by Saturday, September 7th, 2024, in Jesus' name. And then I always end it with yes, yes, right? To affirm it and anchor it. But I keep
Mm.
it because to me, this goal has already happened. It happened in Saturday, September 7th, 2024. I'm just waiting for it to get on the way. And I'm glad we're talking about this because, nothing drives me as crazy as when you tell someone, hey, well, write down your goals. And then this is what they say, Jay. Jay, I don't got to write them down. I have them in my head, right? What's the difference between having them in? So there's,
Ooh, I love this.
but
This
a
is
lot
fun.
of people say that. And I'm
Yeah.
like, write the damn goal down, right? Write
I'm
your goal
not really
down.
sure what's in my head other than this a couple ounces, whatever the weight is of this matter, this brain. It's I don't know if there's anything in my head other than some flesh. But
So,
I
so
could
why,
say
so why
that
is it important? Why is it important? Because people say it's here.
yeah.
And I like what you said. No, write it down because
Okay, well here's
it's
something
able to
interesting
help
to
you.
think about is that at any given time there's more than one of us vying for dominance over who we are and who we can be. There are, and meaning uh, everyone has different personalities fighting for dominance because we have different impulses: eating, sleeping. There's some other ones this is, let's keep this G-rated. Should not. There's a variety of impulses, and if we look at some of the very old texts throughout history, they share with us some of the good things to aspire to, and some of the bad or self-destructive things that are within us that are vying for dominance over what we do, how we actually behave. And so, if a lot of things are in our head, if we're using that as a metaphor, a lot of things, a lot of potential actions that have different consequences. I want to make sure I'm giving credit where credit's due. I'm a student of the great philosophers, the great thinkers that are no longer with us. Some that are, like the academic Dr. Peterson often talks about these different personalities that are vying for dominance from his studies of Carl Jung and Sigmund Freud, and or Jonathan Pageau talks about the value hierarchy. So there's some amazing people that people can look into if they want to pursue these thoughts more deeply. But so one thing is, what's in our head is a lot of things. So if you
Mm,
write to, if one of the exercises I actually learned in this wonderful academy that was online, was a sentiment about, if you're doing something that you don't actually like, anyone listen, you don't actually like, but you're doing it anyway. You could close your eyes and think about what your life would look like 5 years from now, continuing to do that without interruption. And there's studies that show how, I guess, alleviating or freeing that type of experience, or even taking pen to paper and writing out, what the worst possible consequences of doing whatever behavior that one doesn't think, their conscience, this isn't the best thing that I could be doing. Now, the opposite is in effect, going back to your teachings about, and your, what having a goal. writing
Writing it
out
down. Yeah,
your
write it
story.
down.
Yeah, yeah, writing out what's possible for your life and who you could be. And actually, there's something, maybe it's tied to the fact that we've been writing for who knows how long as human beings. It's a big, something about writing, taking notes, writing things down, and how it's a part of our physiology. It's not just, some random coincidence. And maybe, maybe you could speak to this from a biblical sense, but
Well,
um,
what was amazing was, right, it's like have a vision and write it down. And I remember when we moved into this house that we're in right now, and I did an exercise with one of my first coaches, and I wrote a description of my life, and I don't know what was it if it was a year or 3 years ago, and I never used the word nestle, right? That's just not in my vocabulary.
Nestle.
Nestle, right? I'm
Yeah.
a Mexican from the South Side. Nestle was not in my vocabulary, right? Neither was Grey Poupon, but that's neither here nor there. But I remember saying, I'm enjoying my beautiful new pool with palms nestled around it, enjoying the beautiful day. And it was like, wow, like an alarm went off in my heart and my soul, my mind when I found this old spiral. Cause I, like you, mean, like just the way you're taking notes down, I have like 20 spirals from the last years. And I went back and read it, and I read that. I'm like, oh crap. I said, and I literally yelled, Marty. She's like, what? She thought something was wrong. I'm like, check this out. I'm like, this is our house that I wrote about 3 years ago.
Mm,
And she was like, what? And she read it. She goes, Dan. And I was talking about having a horseshoe driveway, and I described where I wanted to be, but I wrote it down. And I truly believe that when people write things down, right, I think there's two powerful things, right? You write it down so it registers deeper into your subconscious mind. So now, because your eyes take a million optics a second, right? We take a million optics a second. So as you're writing this down, your eyes are taking, just imagine like the old Canon commercials. They're taking all these pictures, and then you're reading it. Then you say it to yourself, and it's planted like a seed in you. And I just was like, wow, like this, like this works. And I'm one of those that says like you gotta write your stuff down. And I love that you said that because people need to hear that. Sometimes it's as simple as getting a pen and paper like Jay has right now. He in his remarkable, and just writing it down because your mind, your brain is taking in all these optics of what you want your desired outcome to be. And I think so many people, they don't have a desired outcome. So they get stuck in the unpreparation. Like you were prepared that day because you obviously you know all these quotes. So there's something that you're studying, and that's what I love about you, right? It's just the
thank you.
philosophical side about you.
Well, to be a competent business consultant and advisors to founders that are maturing, because there's a maturation process. There's an evolution from founder to chief executive officer. That's my subject matter expertise, is working with founders to develop the education and insights and strategies and teams to develop the organization as a result of that. It's very important to take notes, to be studied, to ask questions, to gather data and information. And I believe people, can be learned these things with intention and attention, but it's a very important, um, it's a component to be competent and capable, to be in that very honorable position to serve people that are at that height of power, height of responsibility. You talked about when you came on the Culture Matters podcast, how the culture is starts at the top, starts with the leader you mentioned. And so much of the culture does suffer or thrive based on how the ultimate leader shows up every day. And so, yeah, that's a very important. And so, I uh,
So let me
I
ask you
have,
this,
yeah,
because we're on the subject of
sure,
culture.
sure.
Why does, like your hoodie says, why does culture matter?
I've been trying to figure that out for some time. Yeah, when I first started the company, I had a very clear, oh, it's the core values, and the values represent the behaviors, and the behaviors are what actually happen, and that's what. And yes, okay, sure. Now I'm more confused than when I started. Maybe if I had had a deeper understanding like I do today, I may not have even started. So I just want to. It's kind of a funny alliteration, but why it matters is who wants to work for a tyrant?
Mm.
Why do people leave some countries to go to others?
Freedom. I would say
Why?
freedom and opportunity, right? An opportunity and freedom and just
That's well, so in these questions, like what? So why does it matter? Because based on the culture, based on the stories that people live by, based on the laws that exist or don't, based on the rituals and the histories that shape whether it's a company, a nation, a family, that influences behavior. It impacts people's identities. It alters the course of people's lives and history and companies. They good to great. Like I do the air quotes because many of those companies aren't even around anymore that were in that literature. Good to great. Yet it's cited very often. Why? So it matters because people matter. It's I learned this from one of the guests on the Culture Matters podcast. Who's this brilliant polymath academic, very humble, wonderful man named Dr. Ian McGilchrist, who wrote a profound book, to me at least, called The Matter with Things. And in that book, in volume 2, I learned that a thing used to actually be, like the word thing used to actually be like 1,000 years ago or something, when a bunch of people got together and would discuss, they would collaborate around a topic. That's what a thing was. What is like today? A thing is like this is a thing. It's a thing. Like, but
yeah,
it used to be this spirit, like something the human beings coming together and
like a meetup.
yeah, whoa, how to go from a bunch of relationships or people relating to one another to mean like anything. So I'll digress, but culture matters because I think uh, we people matter. Relationships are important. In a business sense, we spend a large part of our life either working for someone
Yeah.
or building a company or participating in an economic system. If we're talking about Westerners like that have the you said freedom, the opportunity to start a business or pursue their personal visions. And who wants to work for a tyrant, or what tyrant really gets up in the morning and says, I really want to destroy everybody's, exist. Maybe it's a small percentage. I don't know.
So,
Maybe
so,
I'm an optimist or something.
so here's
I
the million
think,
dollar question, right? Here's the million dollar question because you think of culture. I heard something today, and it made me think, and it says how. So that this is a two-part question I'm gonna ask you, right? Is would Apple have been more profitable if Steve Jobs wasn't a tyrant, right? Because there was some sides to Steve Jobs that kind of he was. I don't want to say a controlling leader, but there was some sides to him that could have been improved. So how much more profitable could have Apple have been, and how important is right?
hmm,
How are culture and profits tied together? Does the wrong culture affect the profits of a business? Does the wrong culture affect the profits? And I think, well, I'll let you answer it. But let's talk
let's
about the
look at the
profits
Steve
part.
Jobs,
Yeah,
for example, let's look at that. What actually, I love this also question. What actually happened in his hero's journey? It's somewhere, isn't it? Pride comes before the fall.
yes.
He was something about how he was showing up as a human being led to a form of mutiny, a form of coup d'etat. Something about Caesar led to his own people surrounding him and stabbing him to death. Um, so now, if we look at Steve's story, just at a very surface level, he's running the company, clearly brilliant, innovative. All of these astounding things are going on. But what could have been behind him being taken out of the business? Could it have been his hubris? Could it have been he how he showed up with his team, with his people? Now I don't feel confident enough to speak of that specific case study because I haven't studied upside down left and right. However, what I do know is this. Two interesting anecdotes. Number one, I was reading a book by one of his best friends, closest allies, an old book. It was about him, but and I'm sorry, I don't think it was a book. It was an interview. Yes, I read the book too. Larry Ellison, the founder of Oracle, was giving an interview about his relationship with Steve Jobs. He's number two in the world as of this recording for net worth. This guy, Larry Ellison, is a monster, and he like successful, and he said that they were going for one of their walks. This was after Steve left Apple the first time, and he had started Next. And Larry and him were talking about buying the hostile takeover, taking it back and putting it back in a seat. And Larry was going to front the money, and Steve said, no, I don't want you to take it. I, out of principle, want to go back and that I want them to vote me in as the leader. It's interesting. Now, part of this story, there's a book called $1 Trillion Coach. Bill Campbell, written about Bill Campbell, the $1 Trillion Coach, by his students, okay, after he passed away. Bill was a coach to Steve Jobs. Bill Campbell inspires. He used to go for walks with Steve.
Yes.
And so the question becomes, and I don't know the answer to this, was Bill hired before or after? Like, did Steve's fall from grace lead to self-awareness, to reflection, to auditing his personal life? Could that have increased his ability to have
Why?
emotional intelligence?
I
I
can tell
don't
you
know. Well,
experience it will. Right? Because I remember when I think I don't want to say every, but I would say many young leaders fall into that entitlement trap and they think that they're doing it. If this wasn't for Daniel Gomez at the moment, then this wouldn't be happening. If this wasn't for Steve Jobs to say, then Apple wouldn't be what it is. And the truth is that it still had profits without him, even though he was the founder. And the truth is that the organization that I was running, still the doors didn't close after Daniel was departed. But it's humbling because you're like you sometimes you have to, I believe sometimes you have to fall from grace because it makes you a better person in the long run. Nobody wants to be let go. Nobody wants to be fired. Nobody wants to resign or leave a business, I don't think. But it for me, it made me self-reflect. But I will tell you that
hmm.
you have to I think what happens for many people is that they become, going back to what we were talking about with Brad, right? You become bitter and angry. All right, I'm gonna show them. No, like you can't have that attitude because it's hurting you, the leader, the entrepreneur. Like, what the question we should be asking ourselves is, what is the lesson behind this? What
I,
is God trying to teach me?
I have to apologize to your audience because I want to make sure I'm directly answering the question about the profit piece.
Yeah.
Does culture, a, a, a culture where people are thinking long term and they're able to responsibly face impulse short term at every level, leadership down. I think I believe deeply they're going to lift the most people in the good times, and in the worst times they're going to come together. And because times go up and down.
Yes.
And when the times go down externally, the company that has that culture we all dream of being a part of comes close together, like the bow is being pulled back. They have their aim on the target. They're looking into the future. They have the right arrow in the bow, and all that adversity and all that suffering and all that pain is pulling it far, 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 far back. And when the waters come back, they have the right boat and they're elevated above the seas. They're not drowning. As
Yeah.
Charlie Munger once said, uh, you know, we see who's swimming naked when the tide goes out. Culture is about, okay, the tide is going out, and the leadership is putting that blanket around everyone. Hey, because we're all naked, but we're so close together and we're aiming towards the future so clearly. We're going to grab market share. We're going to expand the business. We're suffering right now, but it's going to be meaningful. And when we go out the other side, we're
Ooh.
going to be so successful. So I do think profit is the scorecard of culture, but the question is what timeline. We can lie our way to the top for a period of time. It's like in certain amount, you build it on sand,
Yeah.
but eventually, boom, falls over. So the question is what timeline? What timeline are we on?
Well, you know what
And the
the writer
strongest
said? You know,
culture's
go
longest
ahead.
timeline.
Are you an aspiring speaker? Do you have a book that you've been wanting to write for months, maybe even years? Or are you an aspiring podcaster? You want to start that podcast like the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show and don't know where to start? Well, at Daniel Gomez Enterprises, we can help you do all three. We can help you become that paid speaker, share your story to the world, write your book, and get your podcast launched and help you produce it. We'd love to help you. Give us a call at 210 663 5954. That's 210 663 5954. We can help you become that paid speaker, write that book, and launch your podcast. We'd love to hear from you. Give us a call now. So, ladies and gentlemen, ask yourself this question. This is a great point. Write this down. Am I building my business's foundation on eroding sand? Right? Am I building my foundation of my business? Is the foundation of my business being built on eroding sand? And when the tide does go out and you're exposed, what does the world see? Do you fold? Do you crumble because you've never built a foundation and it's eroded? Or are you building your foundation on godly culture principles? I think is the key. Because the question is this, like for us, honestly, Jay, it's like this past year, man, the tide went out and people are going to jump ship, man. People are going to jump ship and people are going to hope that you fell.
They're
That's the
swimming.
reality of it.
They're swimming.
I hope, you know what? I hope Daniel doesn't make it. I hope DGE, whatever. Like, because there's many people hurting out there just because they're hurting, right? We'll just leave it like that. But the truth is this, is that this is my point, and this is what I want to, the third part of the question is that for us, when the tide goes out, this is what I see a lot of organizations do as I business coach them, is that a lot of small businesses, as the tide goes out and they're exposed naked, like you're saying, like Charlie Munger, too many businesses contract way too much. And when you contract way too much, it's hard to keep the momentum of sales, growth, and morale up. And I believe for us, because I lived this, we didn't contract, we expanded. And even though it hurt, because it took a new level of faith, now this month of July, August, now the momentum's getting even stronger and we're growing because we didn't contract during those times when the tide was exposed us. What comes to mind for
So,
you for that?
well, there's something I wrote down earlier I wanted um, Two things. One, my enemy's contempt for me helps my prayers be heard.
Say that again. That was good, right? Ooh, that was a good one.
My enemy's contempt for me, it's like that my prayers are in a cave. There's an echo. They're louder and louder because if my enemies have contempt for me, it's like reviews on a business. The gym toilet seat had some urine on it. Well, it did. I mean, it wasn't clean. Like the review, now there could be, reviews are real. We've got to read the reviews. Now, 1% could be fictitious, 10% could be fictitious, but if it's 20%, there's a grain of truth in all criticism. It's a feedback loop. Like the people that love me most aren't necessarily going to tell me what I need to hear the most, or will I be able to hear them? It's an interesting dynamic of title and authority and power and these things. So the first thing that comes to mind is my enemy's contempt elevates the if somebody is listening out there, the big man, I think my enemy's contempt creates a very loud echo, and I might get hit by lightning, you know, or maybe because I want to believe in redemption and uh
So
spiritual remuneration, like
do me a favor.
repentance. Or
Say what
that
you
was the
just said
first
and
answer.
reframe what you just said. My enemy's contempt.
For me, helps my prayers be heard. Like
Yes.
even if I'm not praying, I'm not humble enough to pray. My enemy's contempt, meaning I'm likely doing something that's not serving me or others, where eventually I'm going to get nature kind of punch me in the stomach, kick me. Like I'm gonna pride comes for the fall. So that's what comes to mind. Number one. Number two is uh the more the leader suffers, the it changes the context of how the people suffer. Everyone suffers, but the more the leader takes on, the person in position of authority, influence, that's been given power from everybody following them, the more. So I'll give you an example. We've all seen the disengaged chief. They're so disengaged, they've convinced themselves they're engaged. They're so disengaged from their company, they've convinced themselves they're engaged and everybody's out fault. That is I think, naturally like a process of maybe life, business. I've seen it so many times, literature. But Jordan Peterson very artfully, Dr. Peterson talks about in book 3, rule 4. Book 3 is Beyond Order. Rule 4. Notice that opportunity lurks where responsibility has been abdicated, thrown away. Opportunity lurks where responsibility has been abdicated. So the person at the top that's abdicated responsibility, without the vision, the people will perish. It's like the people have to take on, and I do their more suffering. Their suffering is there no matter what, but it feels differently.
Yes.
So the leader must take on the suffering so that the people can handle the suffering that's inevitable. But this is the thing, and I think it's really hard to be a leader. I think it's really hard to be in a position of title and authority. It's so hard and it's so alienating. And that's where great advisors come in, coaches, mentors, the right philosophies, because philosophies can be alienated and make people kind of be paranoid and a little crazy. But it's so when I'm looking at company cultures, and the first thing I do, rather than proselytize or promote or philosophize, like we're having an interesting conversation, I go first and I watch. I do the opposite of that thing. The well, I'm sorry, I'm jumping. In that rule, there's a story. Notice that opportunity lurks where responsibility has been abdicated. There's a story about Osiris who stopped paying attention. He was the Egyptian pharaoh. So he stopped paying attention and everything went to hell in a handbasket. As a culture advisor, I go to pay attention. So I got to go see what's going on, listen, observe. So because you have to see what's actually happening to figure out where the fire is, where's the smoke, where's the fire, and then how to approach it. But those are two things I would say is one, And I know that's a bit, I guess, metaphorical or something. Maybe that loses people. The whole idea that, well, my enemies have contempt for me. It really means there's value in criticism, but it's based on how we read the reviews.
Yeah.
So number one, number two is the leader's job is to take on the burden, and when they don't do that, there's consequences, and when they do it, it helps a lot. But this is where one more thing, there's still going to be people that betray. I think the really hard part when we're in authority, we're in positions of leadership, is how do we decipher who the betrayers are versus who's just fed up with our BS. That's where the advisors come in. That's where the cabinet comes in. That's where our C-suite comes in. That's where our conscience comes in. It's all, those reviews, because separating the betrayer from the person that's just fed up because we're Osiris and we stop paying attention. That's where it gets philosophical. That's the juicy stuff. I love that. I get excited about that. That's where, like, when you asked me about culture, does it matter and all these things, I studied it so much. Uh, it brought me to God, and I'm not I'm lost in a dark room bumping into things. I don't. I'm just saying
Yeah.
I am a business. Like I said at the beginning, a culture advisor, a consultant, an investor, a founder, an entrepreneur. But the more I study, the more I read, it becomes philosophical and theological. The human spirit,
Yeah.
these culture
So
conversations.
let
So
me ask you this.
yeah,
What's one of them? We'll just go with the top one. What's one of the top things that you see that's wrong with culture?
in business or in like macro or
This for
business,
well, this is we'll just say this is a faith-based business podcast, right? So we'll go with business,
I would say
entrepreneurs.
in our culture today, it's interesting. Employees are being told they should be entrepreneurs, and entrepreneurs are being told they shouldn't have pride for what they've built. It's like an undertone. Everyone's being told not to work, even if it's not explicit. That's like a cult. Everywhere I click online, I'm reading self-help books. Everyone's saying, without, even if they're not saying it, it's like buy back your time, or 4-hour week, or build to sell. I believe that has a backwards effect on the human dignity, the human spirit. When employees are not proud to work, when that's their calling, and entrepreneurs are not proud to serve the people, who's working? Who's building the world? Who's protecting us from
Yeah.
evil? Like, what? So I would say one of the issues in our business culture today is we're being programmed. I don't, we could have where's that coming from? But I think we're being told, boom, boom, boom. Like, the entrepreneurs I meet, they're like, yeah, everyone is telling me I should be working on my business. And instead of taking that as I need to be thinking, planning, strategizing, and delegating, I
Yes.
think they take it as I need to be on a yacht while somebody manages my business. No, without the vision, the people will perish. We need the leader to work, right? Oh, you want to be an investor? That's a different business where you're going to work every day, like Warren Buffett. He went to work every day. He just retired. You know, he earned it. I mean, now they're like, get out, go. Or like the employees you know,
Yeah.
people.
Well,
So many
so
people.
so
Yeah.
listen
So
to
I'll
what you
digress.
just
That's a.
so
I
listen
have
to
an
what
issue with
you just
that.
said. Listen to what you just said. And I don't wish Warren Buffett harm, right? But I don't give him maybe but 2 years to be alive. Why?
Yes.
Why? Because of what you're saying, right? When people don't have a purpose, they perish. Think about the great Bear Bryant. After he retired from Alabama as
Bear
a
Bryant.
coach, he died shortly after that, after he retired, because society conditions us as humans here in America Once you turn 62, you're old. Bull BS. Once you turn 65, you need to retire. And they force you to start like, dude, I got an AARP card and I threw it away. I literally tore it. I'm like, bro, I'm in better shape. Not, thanks to our good friend Brad Lee, right? I've been intermittent fasting. Man, I'm shredding from the day we met. And it's like, dude,
Love
like
it.
I'm in better shape now at 51 than I was at 41.
There's a book downstairs in the coffee room, essentially. Um, it's Steven Pinker's The Better, it's not The Better Angels of, it's Enlightenment Now by Steven Pinker. He's a linguistic psychologist at Harvard. And in that, he talked about where retirement came up as an idea. It came up from I believe it was a German concept, like a Prussian concept rather, or German, something in the 19th century where there was a railroad, people, driving the railroads, and they were ultimately there was crashes. There was a lot of crashes because the driver was so old, they couldn't see or whatever happened. So that was like the beginning of all right, so maybe we give them a stipend to like meaning these
Yeah.
concepts, some of these ideas or concepts, they have a good, it's almost like the medicine is helpful, but the symptoms of the medicine starts to create other problems. And maybe retirement, the concept of retirement, if it's rooted in entitlement, it negates human agency. It undermines the Judeo-Christian values that undergird the West. If it's a reward or a recognition for a job well served, or it's what, like some type of recognition, like, okay, this person is,
Well,
they've given it all, like that, they've earned it. All
yeah.
right, bench. I think the context is important.
Well, I think the context has changed without people realizing it. And what I mean by that is the context has changed. The concept was retirement, right? But the context has changed over the years without people realizing it.
Well, that aligns with my point about,
Does
imagine
that make
this.
sense? Right. So what I'm saying is this is like Warren Buffett retired. I'm bringing this up because you mentioned that, but he lost his purpose. Going back to a 4 hour work week or buy back your time. Yes, you want to buy back your time, but not to be lazy to do more. So I was talking to this client of mine today. I'm like, "What's going on? I haven't heard from you. You okay?" He's like, "Yeah." And he's trying to live it up, right? False self-confidence. Oh yeah, I'm at the gym and I'm doing this and like he's telling me all this stuff he's doing. I'm like, this is what I'm saying in my mind, Jay. I didn't ask you all that. But he's saying that because he's puffing up his story to make it sound like he's doing better than what he's actually doing. Yeah, we're still going out. We're still eating, drinking wine. I'm like, no one's asking you these questions, right? Like, why are you voluntarily trying to prove yourself? But it was interesting. It was interesting because I'm like, can I reflect something back to you? You're saying this, but the underlying statements that you're saying, you said XYZ like 5 times. Really? I didn't see that. So he kind of took a sabbatical. Young guy by our age means, right?
Sure.
But he's been trying to pump it up. I'm like, bro, like after 3 months of taking a sabbatical, I remember because I took a sabbatical when my wife was diagnosed with breast cancer. By the 6 weeks, you're like, I need to do something because I'm tired of being home, right? It doesn't if you're right, it doesn't matter who you are, like your life has to have meaning and purpose. So if you lose your purpose, going back to Bear Bryant, like he's gone. Look at Rick Pitino.
This is a good, well, so
Look
this
at
is a
look at
helpful
yeah, look at Rick Pitino. Same thing.
purpose. Purpose is going to come from the back to the beginning of the conversation. We develop a purpose when we have a goal. We write it down, we work towards it. If we have a goal now, in the economic system, like in our system, people, and that's what, they're not sure how to have a goal outside of it. You study other cultures, so they come up with all sorts of things to occupy themselves to be productive. It's very fascinating that how different societies work.
Yeah.
But I would say that to have a purpose, people have to go through that process of saying, what do I want? And when we say what we want and we go through that process of clarifying it, we're forced with, what do I have to give up? What will I have to sacrifice? And when we, because we're social, we need other people. We're including, our life is a composite of our social relationships, our familial relationships, parent, children, siblings, friends,
Yeah.
enemies. We we I mean, we need, there's
My
no
brother,
one closer to me than my enemies.
my brother
Nobody.
Jay and Daniel, that's my relationship.
Yeah, friends. I mean, but I need my enemies. There's no one that understands me better. There's no one that gives my life more meaning than my enemies. Other
Well,
than maybe, I guess that's where faith comes in.
well,
But
well, the truth is, it's the very adversity that comes with those that makes you who you are. I think of the codfish, right? The catfish. What gives the
yeah,
fish the flavor of a
love
catfish
that.
is the codfish, its enemy, because it releases that chemical inside of the catfish that gives it the flavor. So even though we don't like some of the adversities we go through, it's something it brings out of us when we do face these challenges because
What
there's a
would you
reason behind
say?
it.
What would you say? Your when you were interfacing with customers, you're a horticulturalist, you're an advisor to, wasn't it in-home plants,
Yeah, and we
like
would we would do giant palm
aesthetic?
trees from Hawaii, and like you're talking about 20-foot palm trees, 25-foot palm trees inside mansions like David Robinson and George Strait.
What did that career teach you about yourself at that time that you didn't already know?
What did it teach me about myself?
Yeah.
That there's honestly that there's houses with ceilings this tall. This is the
Yeah.
house. Like people pay thousands of dollars for a plant to make it look better.
Wow.
And I guess in the back of my mind, I'm like, how could they ever afford this? So it taught me that I needed to change my environment,
Hmm.
right? Because our mindset will never grow past our current environment. And if you don't change the environment, then a lot of things don't change. What do I mean by that? Okay, well,
Like
if you
that.
keep going to the same, we'll just say for myself, I'm going to speak for Daniel. You go to the same family barbecues every single Saturday, Sunday, and all we're doing is drinking beer, eating barbecue, and that's the exposure. As to somebody now, my children, on Saturday, hey, let's go try this new restaurant. Let me expose you to a different level of dining like we went to. It's like, what the heck? Like, this is awesome.
Hmm.
But if all you know is hamburger meat, then all you know is hamburger meat. Because this is the key, right? We grow to what we're exposed to. And one of the great ways to grow to what you're exposed to is be exposed to bigger and better environments. You grow to what you're exposed to. So, ladies and gentlemen, what are you exposing yourself to? As we're getting ready to land this plane, what are you exposed to? Are you exposing yourself to new environments? Are you exposing yourself to new people? Or are you putting yourself in a small, maybe your belief is, oh, my circle small because you heard it on Instagram and you thought it was cool. Well, yeah, you want to keep your circle small, your inner circle, but you do want to expose yourself to bigger circles, to the fact that we can grow and meet new people, because the truth is you're one connection away from your next level in life and business. And what do you so I want you to write
Hmm.
this question down, ladies and gentlemen. What do you need to expose yourself to that you haven't? What do you need to expose yourself to that you haven't? Imagine if I didn't expose myself to investing in DGE and investing in Daniel Gomez to another level, I would have never met you, Jay. That's the truth. I would have never met you because my exposure was okay. Well, I've invested 5,000, 10,000, but now we're investing at a higher level. And because it was a higher level room, a higher level meeting, I met you. And then we ended up having dinner, and it was just a fun time where we met other high level people. And it was just, I was exposed to that.
Yeah, that was an amazing dinner. You know, shout out to Brad, of course, that put us together, who's been a light in my life for many years, many years. We just had our 7 year friends anniversary. Very happy about that. Episode, I think he's episode 49 or 51 on the Culture Matters podcast. And we're nearing episode 1000. August 26th, we'll be at 1000. And then Mike drop Calhoun. Uh, Man, love you, Mike. If you're listening to this, that founder of Board of Advisors, and some of Brad's great team and Melissa, and that was a special dinner. And I loved what you said about your one person or your one connection away from another paradigm or something that changed your life. Um, I love that. Thank you for this opportunity, by the way, because this is a great honor to be able to share some of myself in a different in a there's no prophet in his own town. So there's the Culture Matters podcast. I'm always on that thing. I got to get on some other shows, and I always have apprehension. Oh, what am I gonna talk about? It's not my show. I don't know.
So
How
I
am I
got a
gonna show
great,
up?
so I got a great closing question for you. I think you're gonna know the answer. What's a quote or a scripture you rely on in times of adversity?
Life is not a problem to be solved, but a reality to be experienced.
Mm.
Soren Kierkegaard, one of the Socrates of Christendom. He was a Danish philosopher in the 19th
Say that again.
century.
I don't want them to miss it. Say that again, if you don't mind.
Yeah, life is not a problem to be solved, but a reality to be experienced. One of my favorite books of all time. It's called Works of Love. It's here it is. Here it is. It's called Works of. There's books everywhere. There, Works of Love. I haven't finished it yet. I don't want to finish it. I've been reading it for years, one page at a time. And yeah, this is page 90. Love is the fulfilling of the law, Romans 13:10. Oh man, he is a wonderful, is like a pastor's scholar kind of thing, I love that. I love this guy. He's helping me in the dark room.
So Jay, if somebody wants to get a hold of you, how do they get a hold of you, brother?
Well, based on this conversation, they're supposed to leave me some negative reviews.
Uh,
How they get a hold of me? They should go to Amazon and buy 30 Days of Thought,
mm.
which will compel them to read relationships, page 35, to read a thought, to write their thoughts in the book, to record a video of their thoughts. It's read, write, speak, okay? And then to send me a message on Instagram, Doran _ the culture man. And I will call you and help walk you through how to use this your book, because it becomes their book.
Yes.
That's the best way.
As a matter of
That's
fact, I need to do that exercise because I haven't started reading your book yet, but I need to thank you for
I
my
can
copy, by the
promise
way.
them, Daniel. My pleasure. Thank you. I can promise them that if they go through this process of reading, writing, and speaking, that they'll be ready to publish a book with you, because the book, it pulls it out of them. It's like it did for me. It pulls it out of them. So there's a beautiful cycle of life. And then once they have their book through you, they can get their ass on a light speed virtual training so they could change the world. And it's one big, and then they could join Board of Advisors and network with everybody and make things happen. This is it,
Whoa, baby. Woo! Jay
I'm
Duran, ladies and
excited.
gentlemen. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being on our show. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for making us one of the top podcasts globally. Daniel Gomez Inspires, the one and only Jay Duran. And if you're stuck in life, if you're stuck in business, reach out to me. We want to help you. We want to help you with our makings of a millionaire mind. Go get the book. It's on Amazon. And
Yes.
better yet, like Jay said, if you're ready to publish your story, give us a call. We want to help you right here. You can be our next published author. And of course, coming up September 19th and 20th, Sticker Shock International Speaking Academy. Your story deserves to be monetized. Stop speaking one to one. It's time to start speaking one to many and grow your business. Thank you again, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you again, Jay. Until next time here on the Daniel Gomez Inspires Show, we'll see you with another amazing guest like the one and only Jay Duran this week. God bless you, everybody.